Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. It's your friendly neighborhood PM with your top 3 market points of the week. And unfortunately, this week it does look like there's a lot of red, and we're going to be trending down for the week. So without further ado, let's just dive right in and see what's been driving that market action. Kicking us off at number 3, it was CPI data coming in. Now, CPI did actually fall for the first time in 6 years, which is a welcome sight as inflation has been inherently sticky and persistent over these last couple of years. Now, this was largely driven by a reduction in gasoline prices as some of that supply shock from the Iran war has started to dissipate a little bit. Obviously, energy prices have been very volatile over these last couple months, but we did see some pressure come off of that as well. Now, what that does is that alleviates the Fed a little bit from their policy stance and does not put as much pressure on them to raise rates to tame inflation. So they do have a little bit of a breathing room for these next couple months. We'll see how that really persists, but there still is an outside chance of a rate hike possibly later this year. At number 2, it's SpaceX. So SpaceX had to abort one of their launch test flights just this week. It was their Starship mission. Now, after they aborted that flight, the shares sold off in the aftermarket hours, down close to 6%. Now, this is pretty typical in rocketry launches. Sometimes you have to abort, and it's more for safety than anything. And the reason that they had to abort this mission was the fact that some of its engines would not start. Therefore, it initiated an automatic shutdown sequence. However, though, this does add further pressure to SpaceX, as this was meant to be its first real launch test following its IPO, which now the shares have retraced below their IPO prices. So a lot of volatility in SpaceX as it was the media darling coming out of its IPO. And then finally, point number 1, it's the broader chip sell-off going on this week. So we're seeing enhanced selling pressure on the semiconductor space, including memory and other computer chips, as more and more questions continue to be raised on their valuations, returns on investment. In addition to that, we are starting to hear of new models being released from China when it comes to AI, LLM models. So a lot of confluence of events here adding to selling pressure. On top of that, you've got some investors potentially looking to take profits, as many of these names have gone up over 100% just year to date alone. So right now, chips have been leading the sell-off, given that right now, and we are starting to look at actually the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index is looking to enter a bear market today, given the price action. So not a whole lot of green going on in the semiconductor space, but what investors are going to really be looking to is earnings, and whether or not those blowout earnings reports that we've been seeing over these last couple of quarters continues to carry through and the momentum picks back up again. And that does it for your top 3 points this week. What are we checking out for next week? Well, I kind of alluded to it already, but we're really going to get into the meat of earnings season kicking off next week. We did have some major banks that posted really strong earnings this past week, but we're starting to get more of the index constituents next week. So we will probably do an earnings edition of the video next week, so stay tuned for that. And that does it for this week's video. As always, if you have additional questions, please reach out to your financial advisor. And if you do not have one, follow our link below, and we'll be happy to get you connected more. But as always, please go out, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you the same time next week. Thanks again.